Let's start.
Uh,
Hi,
yeah,
Satya.
today, hi Ji.
Yeah, let's
Uh,
start now.
today,
Mm.
okay, today we are going to see about Terraform basics. These are the below mentioned topics. We are going to cover the below mentioned topics. First topic is what is Terraform. Second one is how does Terraform works. Third one is manage any infrastructure. Fourth one is track your infrastructure. Fifth one is automate changes. Sixth one is standardize configuration. Seventh one is collaborate. Moving to the next slide. Um, First topic is what is Terraform? Terraform is a popular infrastructure as a code tool developed by HashiCorp Limited. It enables you to define and provision infrastructure using a declarative configuration language. With Terraform, you can create, update, and manage a variety of resources across different cloud providers in a consistent and repeatable manner.
Yeah. So, Satya,
Okay,
in the previous slide,
okay, Ji.
Terraform is an infrastructure as a code tool, right?
Yeah,
And it
yeah,
is developed by HashiCorp. Do you know
yeah.
recently someone has acquired HashiCorp? Do you know who has acquired HashiCorp now?
Uh, I don't know, actually, no idea.
HashiCorp was a what to say? HashiCorp was a company. Now it is acquired. Now it is acquired by IBM.
Oh,
Okay.
okay, okay.
So yeah, but
Actually,
still
you
it
have
is.
shared that
Yeah. Still, it is not
LinkedIn.
clear how it will, after IBM is acquired, how the things will change. But yes, that was the latest news.
Okay, Ji, thanks for the
And
information.
in the second line, you have mentioned declarative configuration language. Could you elaborate on what is declarative configuration language?
Um,
So basically, when we say configuration language is different from programming languages. Okay. So
okay,
programming languages, it is based on some functions, method, classes. It has some programmatical algorithms. It's called as programming language. But configuration language is more different than programming language, where you used to just use this language for configuration purpose, not for developing an application. So the application
okay,
development is different, but configuration of application we are doing. So declarative means you no need to write any special syntax. So declarative means
okay.
if I need a VM, you can say, okay, VM name, a name equal to VM name. So it's very declare. Declarative means you are declaring,
But
okay, this is
it
the
has
name.
been predefined.
It is not predefined, but basically you are declaring, okay, this is the name of your VM. This is the
Okay,
IP address. This is the VPC I want. So you are declaring those values. So what this Terraform does? Terraform itself is a tool which is already developed. Okay.
okay,
And on top of that, we are not going to write a programming language. We are not, Terraform doesn't support Python, Java, or React or those things. There are other tools, other infrastructures of code tool which you can do from programming languages like AWS CDK, Pulumi. So those are other tools where you can write infrastructure as a code using programming languages, like you can use Python or Java scripts to basically, or Go language to basically write your infrastructure. Okay.
okay,
But here in
okay,
Terraform, you can't use any other languages. Terraform use its own language called HCL, HashiCorp
okay,
configuration language. It's called as HCL, and it's a declarative language. Okay. So
okay,
with Terraform, the third line is we are saying resource across cloud promises. I think it is consistent and repeatable manner. Basically, we can reuse the code, but we will see that later. But yeah, you can proceed further.
okay.
Yeah.
Next slide is how does Terraform works. Terraform creates and manages the resources on cloud platform and other resources through their API. And then providers enable Terraform work with virtually any platform or services with an accessible API. Um, uh, we have below the pictorial representation of that, how does the Terraform works. Moving to the next slide. Uh,
Can you move to the previous slide?
yeah, okay.
So in the before slide, we saw what is Terraform. Terraform is a declarative language and used for infrastructure as a code tool. But here, how Terraform works. So you say create and manage resources. Terraform works with something called providers. Okay, in
Okay.
your diagram, you have providers. So what the providers will do? What is the provider and what is the target API, which has been mentioned here?
Um, Actually, basically, it works with um,
Yeah. So basically, the target API is nothing but Terraform creates resources on any cloud, AWS or
yeah.
Azure, Dynatrace. Okay. So these AWS, Azure, Dynatrace, how Terraform will understand, okay, this resource will be created in AWS or this resource will be created in Azure. How Terraform will understand it? Terraform will understand it basically using something called provider. Okay.
Okay.
So when you
Okay.
write a code on Terraform, you have to give a AWS provider so that whatever you are writing it will be based on the AWS
Okay.
provider. Okay, because AWS calls something as EC2 and Azure call that as Azure VM. There are different services named in different cloud. How Terraform knows it? So basically a provider. So Terraform
Okay.
has multiple providers from AWS, Azure, Google, Dynatrace, Grafana, or GitLab, GitHub. Whatever tool you want to automate, whatever infrastructure you want to automate, Terraform has providers. Okay. And what is the target API? Basically, what the Terraform provider does, Terraform provider is kind of a library which already talk to the APIs available in the product. So without using Terraform, with AWS has its own CLI and API. Azure has its own CLI and API. Dynatrace has its own CLI, API and CLI. Any tool, GitLab or GitHub, they will already have an API for the tool. So
Okay.
Terraform created a library or provider. So those provider will already have API calls between those resources. So what we are doing, we are declaratively writing the code, but this integration with each tool with the API, that's something Terraform provider is managing. Okay,
Okay.
so are you clear? You were able to understand what is
Yeah. Yeah.
target API and what is Terraform provider?
Yeah. Actually, basically, they have a API on AWS, Azure. Like they can communicate to Terraform, and they can.
Yeah, so not only to Terraform, that API you can use and you can also automate, right? But point is, we are not going to talk to any other tools. So we are not going
Okay.
to talk to any other tools. Terraform will talk to the tools to deploy your resources.
Okay.
But how Terraform does it? Terraform has the provider. You need to provide to Terraform, okay, the AWS provider I'm using. That you have to
Okay.
declare. Rest
Okay.
of the everything, Terraform will take care. But how technically it is happening is your
Okay.
provider knows to call the API of the service you are going to use. Okay, what
Okay.
you're going to declare here, the first step to start writing the Terraform is to know about the provider. So Terraform provider is basically a library to make Terraform to know, okay, where you're going to deploy or what you are going to deploy, what you're going to declare. So the provider can be AWS provider, Azure provider, GitLab provider, Dynatrace provider. With the provider, the Terraform will understand, okay, you are writing your code to deploy on AWS.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Proceed further.
And then for right, you define. You define resources which may be across multiple cloud providers and services. For example, might create configuration to deploy an application on virtual machines in a virtual private cloud, uh, and a network with a network with security group and load balancer. And then the second point is plan. Terraform creates an execution plan describing the infrastructure it will create, update, or destroy based on the existing infrastructure and your configurations. And third one is apply. Uh, on approval, Terraform performs the proposed operations in the correct order, respecting any dependencies. For example, if you update the properties of VPC and change the number of virtual machines in that VPC, Terraform will recreate the VPC before scaling the virtual machines.
Yeah, can you explain again the previous thing, Satya?
Yes.
Because here you have write, plan, and apply, right?
Yeah.
And this is also belong to how Terraform works. So can you
Yeah.
explain again what write? Can you explain what is write?
Actually, we have write that configuration in in basically in image, and then we have to plan and then apply and then apply. It will finally deploys to the cloud providers like AWS and Azure.
So basically, when we say write, right? So write
Okay.
will be involved on defining the resources what you have to create. So here in the example, they are saying you are creating a virtual machine in the VPC network with the security group and load balancer. So basically, you need to have your architecture. What you are writing is basically what resources you want, what you are deploying. You are deploying a container, how what you have to create and what provider you have to use. That is your right. You have
Okay.
to know before writing Terraform is an infrastructure as a code tool which you are using, but
Okay.
your architecture, what you are deploying, what is your architecture in AWS? Are you going to use VP? Are you going to deploy an ECS container or
Okay.
EC2 mission, or you are going
Okay.
to use Lambda? Those Terraform doesn't know. Okay, so that you are defining the resource, and it's multi-cloud or single cloud. Terraform doesn't know anything. So yes, write is yes, writing the code. But why you are writing the code? You are actually defining what your infrastructure should be. So before using the Terraform, you should have the requirement of what you're going to deploy or what you're going to create using Terraform.
Okay.
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 So what is plan? So you have plan here, right?
Okay. Yes,
What
sir.
is plan?
Actually, basically, plan is actually that configuration. What we need to deploy, uh, we can plan that, right?
See, what is plan is now you have created, you return the code. When you
Yeah.
return the code, it will create a resources. Before creating the resources, the plan will show, Terraform will show, this is what I'm going to create or this is what I'm going to destroy. But it is not did any changes. For example, you are building a building. In the right step, you are telling to the engineer, okay, I want kitchen, I want bedroom, I want hall, I want the lawn. Uh, so these things you are telling. Okay. So, but that is the right part. You are telling your requirement. These are the things. Now, what engineer will do? Engineer won't go and build the building immediately. Engineer will draw the picture in the paper. It is called blueprint.
Yeah.
Then you can tell, oh, okay, this I can change, this I can modify. So Terraform plan will run and give you the status. What are the resources it will create or destroy or it will update uh, before you actually apply it, before you actually run it.
Okay.
So Terraform plan is for you to verify whatever you write, it's there in the code or not, or you want to change. Before Terraform do the change or create the resources, it is giving you the plan. You understood?
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
what is Terraform?
Hello. Ji. Hello.
So I asked the question, what is apply? So now we saw plan, what is apply?
Okay. Apply means we have whatever whatever we have write in the code, that is we are going to apply that.
I think apply is nothing but executing your things. So apply is like you are performing the, see, apply is just executing whatever is planned. Okay, you proceed further.
This is the picture representation of that. How does Terraform works? Write, plan, and then apply. Shall I
Oh,
move to
yeah,
next
go
slide?
ahead. You don't wait for me. You move forward. You keep
Okay. So,
explaining your. We can have questions in the end. Yeah, go ahead.
okay. Uh, this is the workflow. Next slide is workflow. First point is write configuration. Define the desired state of your infrastructure in HCL. This could include resources, data resources, variables, and outputs. Second point is initialize. Run Terraform in init to initialize the Terraform working directory. Uh, this step downloads the necessary providers, plugins, and set up the environment for Terraform operations. Third point is plan. Execute Terraform plan to generate an execution plan. This step shows what changes will be made to reach the desired state, allowing you to review before applying. Fourth point is apply. If the plan looks correct, run Terraform apply to implement the changes. Terraform communicates with providers to create or update resources accordingly. Fifth point is state management. Terraform automatically updates the state file with new state of your infrastructure after applying the changes. The state file is essentially for subsequent operations like planning and applying changes in the future. Sixth point is destroy. If you want to remove infrastructure, you can run Terraform destroy. This command deletes all resources defined in your configuration. I'm going to the next slide. This is the Terraform life
So,
cycle.
so one thing, if you go to your previous slide,
Okay.
so there is something called state management, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So in the before just the slide, we talked about write, plan, and apply. Here
Yeah.
there are Terraform two things which is new here is initialize and state management and destroy. Okay. So write the
Okay.
configuration. Basically, we discussed we have to define the resources. It is based on the HCL, which is the HashiCorp language. But initialize, what is initialize is doing? What is
Uh,
Terraform init? What is
yeah.
initialize is doing?
Um, basic. Basically, the directory and um Actually, prerequisite is of to execute the file. They will download that.
Uh,
If
okay, so what initialize is doing? Basically, you are defining your provider, AWS provider or Azure provider. Okay, when you run Terraform init, it installs the provider configuration. Basically, if you say your provider is AWS, it needs to download those Terraform like AWS resources or AWS configuration into your local or into your code. Okay,
okay,
so so basically when you write the code, you will write on some directory. Okay, you create a TF file, which is Terraform file, so in that directory, when you write the Terraform language, it need to understand, okay, EC2 or ECS. How it understand? It understands from the provider you are given. When you give the
okay,
provider, Terraform init need to be run after the provider is provided, so that the Terraform init will download some kind of packages to your local, which is very specific to AWS. So
okay,
Terraform init is downloading the package for running your AWS because you have declared AWS as the provider for your current code. Okay,
okay,
so Terraform plan we already discussed. It will give the execution plan to check the desired state. Desired state is like what is going to happen in the actual state, which is the running mission. Apply. Terraform apply is nothing but executing that Terraform code. But what is state management here? So before moving to state management, let's go to destroy. So what is destroy? Terraform destroy here.
um, if you want to keep that file means we can keep it. Otherwise, we can destroy means it will destroy.
Okay, so basically you already have the blueprint or execution plan, right?
Okay,
So you have the execution plan that based on that execution plan only you are giving Terraform apply. What Terraform apply is doing?
okay,
Terraform apply is taking the plan and executing, right? So
yes,
now whatever Terraform plan we have, now when you give Terraform destroy, it will destroy that plan. So now I have created all the resources and I want to decommission because I don't want to use this application or I don't want to use this account. You can't go to the account and one by one you no need to delete. If you give
okay,
Terraform destroy, whatever it created, it will destroy. Basically, Terraform apply will create, Terraform destroy will delete. But both uses something called Terraform plan.
okay,
And where this Terraform plan is kept? Terraform plan is the blueprint. Okay, if someone touch it, it will change your infrastructure. So Terraform plan is nothing but state of your application or state of your infrastructure. Okay, so this state need to be
okay,
secured. Okay, if you are also
okay,
changing something, I am also changing something, it will change the infrastructure. Okay, so
okay,
Terraform, that plan is something called a state file. Okay, that
okay,
plan is nothing, we keep it in the state. To to secure that state, we call the state management. So
okay,
Terraform takes the state file. Okay, whenever you deploy the code, apply the changes, there will be a state file created in Terraform, and that state file usually we will keep it in the local state file and remote state file. But we will see in that detail. Are you covering in next slides? But
okay,
in Terraform, there is something called state file, which is created when you actually apply the code, and every time you do the change, the state file will also get updated. The state file is the one who knows what is being deployed. And when you give Terraform destroy, then destroy also use the same state file to delete all the resources, because state file will have the name of your resources created, which account, what resources created, everything will be there in the state file. To manage the state
okay.
file, we call as state management. You understood?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, go to the next slide. You continue.
Yeah, this is the Terraform life cycle. Uh, First, we have the init command, and then we can plan, and then apply, and then destroy. Shall I move to the next one?
Yes, so basically you are initializing your provider, you are creating a blueprint, you are creating the infrastructure, and you are also destroying the infrastructure, everything through the code.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Next slide is manage any infrastructure. Um, Find providers for many platforms and services you use in the Terraform registry. You can also write your own. Um, Terraform takes immutable approach to infrastructure, reducing the complexity of upgrading or modifying your services and infrastructure.
Yes. So when you say manage any infrastructure, that like it's AWS or Azure or Google, so basically first step is to find the provider. So if any infrastructure means, okay, you want to write Terraform, you need to go to registry.terraform.com and you need to find. Uh,
Okay.
okay, so you need to find a provider for it. Then after finding the provider, you need to write the code. Then actually after you write the code, you have the state file created. So it is immutable. You can't change the thing. If you want to change, you have to again change in the code. That is what it is. So managing every infrastructure in the code. Yeah, proceed further.
Okay. Okay. Next slide is track your infrastructure. Terraform generates a plan and prompts you for your approval before modifying your infrastructure. It also keeps track of your real infrastructure in a state file, which acts as a source of truth of your environment. And then Terraform uses state file to determine the changes to make to your infrastructure so that it will match your configurations.
Okay, so track your infrastructure. Basically, what it says, Terraform generates a plan. We know that it creates a blueprint, and we can also provide approval using the Git because everything is the code. You make a merge request or pull request. Basically, people will go and verify your merge because we have branches. So that case, any deployment you can actually get approval if you want. It is also reviewing your code by your senior engineer like development. It also keep track
Yeah.
of real infrastructure in the state file. Yeah, we already discussed there's a source of truth. So state file is everything. So you whatever infrastructure you are running, it is a state file. Terraform uses the state file to determine the changes makers in your environment, so it is matches your yeah. So whatever change you are making, that should be Terraform state file will have. But one thing you guys have to keep in mind is whatever you do manual changes to your AWS or Azure infrastructure, Terraform state file doesn't know it. Next time
Yeah.
when you run the Terraform apply or plan, it actually deletes the resources you created in manually. So Terraform,
Okay.
so that's why everything should be in the code to track your infrastructure.
Okay.
Okay, okay, proceed further.
Okay. Uh, Next slide is automate changes. Terraform configuration files are declarative, meaning that they describe the end state of your infrastructure. You do not need to write step-by-step instruction to create resources because Terraform handles the underlying logic. Terraform builds a resources graph to determine resources dependencies and creates or modify non-dependent resources in parallel. This allows Terraform to provision resources efficiently.
Okay, so automatic changes. So Terraform configuration files are declarative, meaning they describe end of the state file of your infrastructure. So basically now you created your infrastructure. So now what you're going to change or update few things in your infrastructure. So for that, anyway, now when you create an infrastructure, you already have configuration files, which is called Terraform files. We will discuss more on that later. You do not need to write step-by-step instruction to create a resources because Terraform handles underlying logic. Yeah. So what Terraform has something called modules, which we will discuss to create the resources. Terraform build the resources graph to determine resources dependency to create and modify non-dependent resources. Yeah, you can parallel Terraform graph is another command which gives you the like which are the dependent, which are the non-dependent resources. If you create EC2, then VPC is a dependent resource because when you create a EC2, VPC should be already available. If EC2 is not already available, your EC2 won't be created. So EC2 is dependent on your VPC. But whereas S3 is a independent component which is not dependent. So you can run non-dependent resources in parallelly, creating S3, Lambda, DynamoDB. Also, you can run create a resource which has a dependency like VPC, EC2, IP addresses like subnet and all those
Okay.
firewall and all those configuration. This allows Terraform to provision infrastructure every day. So Terraform, with Terraform, they thought about all the different cases. So they say this can be provisioned, yeah, efficiently.
Okay.
Proceed.
Okay. Next is standardize the configuration. Terraform supports reusable configuration components called modules that define configurable collections of infrastructure, saving time and encouraging best practices. You can use publicly available modules from the Terraform registry or write your own. Yeah, shall I move to next one? Ji?
So standardized configuration, basically Terraform support reusable modules, which means when you create a EC2 or virtual machine, you no need to write the code again and again. You can reuse the same EC2, but the second EC2, the name will be different. EC2 1, EC2 2, EC2 3, EC2 4. So basically that those are called as variables, but your main so basically you will create something called module and you will use those modules in your code. We will see that this is basically to save the time and not to rewrite everything. And there are public modules available from Terraform itself in the registry.terraform.com. So if something is already available, you no need to start writing it. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Next slide is collaborate. Since your configuration is written in a file, you can commit it to version control system
Mm.
and use Terraform Cloud to efficiently manage Terraform works across teams. And Terraform Cloud runs in a consistent and reliable environment and provides secure access to shared state and secret data, role-based access controls, a private registry for sharing both modules and providers, and more.
Uh, yeah, this is very straightforward. You will use Git for your code, and you have written in the file to commit, and all those things will happen. And secrets you will store in parameter store or Git in the secret variable and those things. Yeah, go to next one.
This is the basic commands of
How many slides you have? More?
yeah, that's it.
Okay, okay,
This
go ahead. Go ahead.
uh, uh, this is the basic commands of Terraform. First command is Terraform version, and then Terraform help, init. Basically, it initialize Terraform working directory, and then Terraform validate, validate the configuration, and then Terraform plan. Uh, Terraform plan means generating a Terraform plan, dry run mode where you can preview what Terraform will change, that making actual changes to your infrastructure, and then Terraform apply, and then Terraform destroy. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, basically Terraform has a CLI. Okay, so Terraform has a CLI, Terraform CLI, which we will download. Okay, these commands are from Terraform CLI. Once you download, you check the version of the Terraform, then Terraform help to understand other commands Terraform init is to initialize your provider. Terraform validate is just to check the your code, Terraform code configurations are written correctly, like kind of syntax check for your understanding. Then Terraform plan is basically generating your blueprint, what you're going to change in infrastructure. Then Terraform apply is going to create the infrastructure, and Terraform destroy is going to delete. There is other Terraform commands also, as I said, Terraform graph, Terraform others. But these are the things very minimal which you guys have to know to start working on Terraform. Okay, with that, I think Satya, you have done good. I think. Thank you so much for this Terraform session. Maybe
Yeah, thank,
next session you need to install the CLI and show us how the Terraform commands are working. But thank you for this session. Thank you,
yeah,
Satya.
thanks. Thanks.